Welcome to Chapter 6, Part 3. We are going to look at multiple conditions. So the last lecture was just one condition, and that was the helicopter airplane one. Now we're going to solve that problem of Zeus. Remember the problems with Zeus? It had to do with the whole world could get turned black. Zeus had issues when he tried to shoot himself. So this is where we use if-else and Boolean questions and functions to try and solve that problem. Okay, so, and also remember that philosophers could be zapped with lightning more than once. So lots and lots of problems. So what we need is an if-else statement, conditional execution. So here are the conditions we're going to check. Is the selected object a philosopher? And if so, has the philosopher also already been zapped by lightning? So the conditional execution, the thing that would happen once these been checked is, will the lightning bolt be shot or not? So that's a lot of questions, and every time you have a question, you're really dealing with a function. So let's first deal with restricting the thunderbolts to go only to philosophers. This is not an easy thing. So 4 possible conditions must be checked, right? Is the thing that you're shooting at, is it Homer? Is it Socrates? Is it Euripides? And I can't remember the other, Plato, I think. So so those are the 4 conditions you'd have to check. Let's check it out and take a look at this, and we'll come back to the concepts. So at first glance, everything looks pretty much the same. World shoot bolt is who, and it's the object under the mouse cursor, so that's just what it was. Let's just take a look at shoot bolt, though. Here's our if statement, and here's our function. So if the who, the thing that we shot it at, is Homer, then it's going to work. Now, so what they've done right now for this is written it just so Homer is the only one they can get shot. Check it out. Oh, and this is the new version of Homer. All right, so if I click on anything else, the water, nothing happens. The ground, nothing happens. The pillar, nothing happens. Zeus, nothing happens. But because we've only written it for one philosopher, if I click on the other philosophers, still nothing happens. Also, you'll notice if I click on Homer, he can get shot again. So we're not quite done, but we're getting there. Okay, so we began with just one object, and again we chose Homer, but anything will do. And so you saw how this was done. This is using the math functions. You start with a blank if statement, and then you drag in the who tile, and then you select it equals to Homer. Okay, so as we saw, the problem was we can still hit Homer multiple times. Well, let's see if this version will fix it. Okay, so now we've written it so that, yep, you can hit Homer. Or you can hit Plato. Sorry. A little impatient. Or the next one. I can't remember which one this is. But you still can't hit the ground. All right, let me show you the code. It's pretty ugly. So it's the longest if statement in the history of man, in that if either who equals Homer, or who equals Plato, or who equals Socrates, or who equals Euripides. So, and there's all these eithers. So let me just show you how to make it, just so that you know how to make it, and then we'll talk about a cleaner way to do it. Okay, so you know how to drag in an if-else. That's not that exciting. And I'm just going to throw something in there. You could start with 2 things. You could either go down to this arrow and use your logic and say true equals true, and then we can fit things in, right? Like if who equals, etc., and you can say Homer, right? So that's one thing. That's one way to do it, although this looks a little bit messy. But whatever, you guys know how to do that part. Here's the trickier part. If you drag in this either statement, so right here. So if either who equals Homer equals true, that really is not good, or true, so that you would drag in another who equals, maybe Plato, okay, and then you can keep going. You can drag in another one, another one, another one. But remember, this is pretty ugly, so we don't want to do that. Okay, so like we said, we had a logic operator. The either one is used to make multiple conditions, but we can only hit philosophers. That's good, but you can notice I can still hit them multiple times. So we still need to work on solving this problem. Also, as I just said, That was a mess to read, and it's really difficult to debug if you can't read it. So there's got to be a better way, and there is. And so we're going to write a Boolean question that checks the conditions. So let me show you what that one looks like. Okay, so this is how shoot bolt got edited here. You still have these things, but the question is who got shot? And so look at that. Hey, we got a new function. So if we go to the function, this is where it gets asked which philosopher is being shot. So if it's Plato, return true. Well, what happens if you get true? If you get a true, then you shoot whoever that is. Okay? So that's the who right there. That's how that gets dragged in. Else, if the other possible philosopher is Socrates, then you return true. If it's Euripides, then you return true. If it's Homer, return true. So it still looks a little bit clunky, but it's a heck of a lot better than that either or thing. And again, this is just a bunch of nested if-else statements, and you've seen that before. Oh yeah, and one last thing I want to show you is if none of this is true, at the very, very end you put return false. Okay? So you would return true if it gets to the very end of that, then you would return false for those things. Okay. Okay, so we saw that we could check multiple conditions using nested if statements. It is kind of like 20 questions in that, you know, hopefully you guys have played 20 questions. Is it an animal or a person? And is it a da-da-da-da, etc., all that stuff. All right. We talked about this too. If one of the conditions is found to be true, the function immediately returns true, and it's done, and the function's finished. Okay, so that's pretty important. Once it hits true, it's done. Otherwise, it returns false. Okay, so it looked a lot prettier, but we could still hit the same philosopher multiple times. So we need to be doing that. So now we need to work with that problem. And the question is, how do we know if a philosopher has already been struck by lightning? Well, his color property was set to black. So the question we're going to ask is he black? And if he's black, then we're not going to hit him again. That's actually not as hard as it sounds. Okay, so let me show you the new code for shoot bolt. Not only is it if you ask about which philosopher it is, but if the philosopher's color is not black, then you shoot them, otherwise you do nothing. All right, so let me show you how it runs. So here's the new Homer. Okay, and if I click on him again, even if I wait patiently, it's not going to happen. But if I go to this guy, Zeus will get him. And even if I click on him again, nothing will happen. Okay, and that's because of this. As long as the color is not black, you see that not part there? As long as it's not black, then you can do it. So how do you make that? Well, I started to create a new if-then statement here. I just picked Plato, and I said if Plato is not oh shoot, I just did this. Sorry, try this one more time. Okay, if you click on Plato, it could be any of them, and you bring color in, and you drag the color in here, and if the color is not black, then you're all set. And then what you can do is drag down the parameter of who, and try to make it fit into that who color right there. So if whoever it is, because that's what you're running at, right? If the who color is not black, then it'll run. And that's how you do it. You might want to practice this a little bit, and we'll do some practice in class. Okay, so just to reiterate, we just needed to check for a duplicate strike by looking at the color, and I just showed you how to do the code for that. All right, and that's it. Sorry for the missteps.